Today we're going to be looking at Lodi, which is another classic CCR tune, and like the other great Creedence songs we've looked at, it has a neat solo by John Fogerty that incorporates those movable chord shapes that we've been talking so much about. So that's going to be the focus of the lesson today. The solo in Lodi is basically the same as the intro, the outro, etc. It's more of a motif than a solo. And it's one of those great guitar parts that kind of flies under the radar, like so many of Fogerty's. Songs you hear so many times on the radio, you might overlook a really great guitar part that you can learn something from. So that's what we're going to hopefully do today. Now with the tuning, the original, if you're playing along with the original, it'll sound like it's in B flat, with going up a step to C for the chord, the key change at the end. But Fogerty did like to tune down a lot in those days, so I think that's probably what was going on. I've seen several YouTube videos, of him playing it in the last 20 years live, and he's playing it in C and then moving it up to D for the key change at the end of the song. So, since C is obviously a much more common key, that's what we're going to look at today. I'm going to start by showing you the chord progression in the open position, and then later I'm going to show you the way Fogerty plays it up here with those movable chord shapes, both during the verses and during the solo and motif section. So, it starts off with C to F. To C, walking down to A minor, to F, to G, back to C, the walk down to A minor, F, C, and then you have Oh Lord, stuck in Lodi again, which of course was C, G, F, C. Alright, that's the chord progression. Fogerty, if you see him playing it live on these YouTube videos, he's up here about 90% of the time. He does throw in a couple of first position licks, but mainly he's up here. So that's where we're going to start, by barring that 5th fret on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. And of course you'll be able to see that that's your movable A shape, brought up to the 5th fret. It's a C chord. You can look at it like this, your standard A shape bar chord, or you could look at it like this, which you can see is your movable G shape. They're really essentially the same, but folks who adhere to the cage system, C-A-G-E-D, talk about the movable A version and the movable G version as two different chord shapes. And of course they are, because you can clearly see that this is one shape and this is another shape. But the foundation of it is exactly the same, and it's the barring of those 4, 3, 2 strings at the 5th fret. So however you want to think about it, that's the chord we're looking at. And very few people will actually finger a chord like this. It's challenging, right? But that is an A chord, excuse me, that is a C chord the same way this is a C chord. So the beginning of the song, the intro motif, which again is the same as the solo, is that chord. Just hitting it twice. That's it. Then you're going to lay your middle finger down on the 6th fret 2nd string, ring finger down on the 7th fret 3rd string. Play this little passing chord once. It's unclear whether he plays just 3-2 or if he throws in that 5th fret G note. on the 4th string. He probably does a little of both. The main bit of it though is this. And then you want to slide up to the 8th fret and play another version of the C chord, right? That's the movable F, or you can think of it as the E shape of the C chord. So basically what we're doing here is going from one C chord shape to another C chord shape with a passing chord, or a bit of a chord. So twice, once, 3 times, then back to that one once. I like playing this one, keeping the bar going. I like to keep the bar going throughout this. And the way Fogerty, the way I see him play it, is he's doing the same thing. So now the next thing is you're going to lay down all fingers to what you would see as a D minor chord there. Sorry, movable A minor shape. You don't really need to play the 5th and 6th strings. And there's going to be some hammer-ons, and this is one of the parts that he varies greatly. But the main bit of it is hammering on the 4th and 3rd strings at the 7th fret. Again, I'm just adding that 5th string note there as part of that C chord. So basically you're just hammering and then coming back to the C chord. So the whole thing looks like this. Pretty rough, but you get the idea. And in between you'll notice that I played again, that's just keeping the bar, hammering on the 7th fret 4th string. Etc. So the hammer-on part is the part that he varies the most, and he might hit the different chords, you know, more times, less times, whatever. But that's it. You know, you're going from a C chord to a C chord with a little passing note, mainly concentrating on that F note, since that's, you know, the other chord in the progression there. And then coming back to the C. So it's very simple, it's very sweet. So one of the interesting things about watching Fogerty play this song live is that he does play the chord progression up here instead of in the open position. And he is playing it with partial chord shapes most of the time. And incidentally, both of the YouTube videos I saw, he's playing it on what looks like a Fiesta Red Telecaster. Little digression there. Anyway, so he's playing that C chord there. Doesn't really fill it out like this. He occasionally will play that note. So then when he goes from the C chord to the F chord, he's right there. He's got the F chord right there. That's our movable D version. Right, if we filled out a D chord, it would be like this. There's our F chord. And, you know, again, he may be filling it out a little bit more here and there. And he definitely does when he does the walk down to the A minor, which remember was... Well, up here, you walk right down to your A minor because you're at the 5th fret, which we hopefully know by now is home of the A minor pentatonic scale, which we hopefully also know by now is the same as the C major pentatonic scale. So he's got a C chord right there, he's got an F chord right there, and he's got a A minor chord right there. The only thing he has to move for is the G, and then he just takes that F shape, moves it up 2 frets. So that's how you can really use those movable chord shapes to play a chord progression all over the neck. And it's especially important when you've got multiple guitar players on stage. You don't want to all be playing, you know, first position chords the same way you don't want to all be playing bar chords. Last but not least, there's one more sort of signature pentatonic lick, A minor, C major pentatonic lick that comes at the end of each verse when he does, "Oh Lord, stuck in Lodi again," he goes. That same hammer on. Right out of the A minor pentatonic box. You're bending that 7th fret, 3rd string. And when you see him play it live, he's throwing in all kind of fifth fret, again, C major, A minor pentatonic licks during the verses too, and he really gets into that. So that's Lodi. Hope you enjoyed it. Play around with it. Fogerty, like Neil Young, is just really free with his playing, like Keith Richards as well, and Pete Townsend, some of the other folks I've featured. That's why I like their playing. It's loose, it's free, they don't play the same thing twice, and when you see them live, they're just going at it, you know, and so take the same approach. Don't just necessarily try to copy it lick for lick. Just learn the framework with these movable chord shapes and play around with your own variations on it. Add it to your kick bag and get out there and play. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time.